He's the rascal of the canoe. They're old and now.
Here we go, here we go.
Oh.
We're gonna turn it up somewhere.
That's just, it's just getting that from here, that's why we gotta turn the volume down.
Okay. So this is, we're live now. No can close any of them now.
No troubles to complain, cruising is just fine. So forward to Tahiti, Imuamako Tahiti. Come back strong, Makaliʻi. Come back strong, and his voice says, he's the rascal of the canoe. No troubles to complain, cruising is just fine. So forward to Tahiti, Imuamako Tahiti. Forward to Tahiti.
I'm gonna go say something and I'll be right back.
This song we played over in Mexico. So like we said, we took a few different animals on the first voyage. We had buffaloes, we had snakes, we had, some of those names are names of people. So we had Uncle Buff Keolana, who's a pretty famous surfer here in the islands. Uncle Snake Ahi, who's another famous surfer, and it's from the island of Maui. So it's really appropriate that we had pigs, dogs, buffaloes, snakes, and all these different type of animals on board the canoe on that first voyage. But so it's been 40 years since, almost 40 years, next year will be 40 years. In fact, we just celebrated Hōkūleʻa's 40th birthday on the 8th, is when she was launched. She launched on March 8th, 1975.
1975?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Older
she's
than me?
40.
Yeah, kidding.
Yeah. But she's still looking good too.
All right. Let me see. Thank you. Oh, man. So, for those of you who are new to Hawaii or have not heard yet of our Polynesian voyaging tradition, the Polynesian voyaging canoe has for centuries taken us between islands, both from the South Pacific to the North Pacific to Hawaii is the northernmost point of the Polynesian Triangle. Hōkūleʻa, actually, let me back up. Hawaiians and Polynesians had not traveled such distances for at least 100 years, 200 years before the Hōkūleʻa was built. It was conceived by a group of gentlemen in Hula in the 1970s who thought, you know something, if they could do it back then, we can do it now. We just need to build a canoe, a double hull voyaging canoe, like they had way back in the day. And then we need to find a guy who's going to be able to sail this without killing everybody on the board. So, and they did all of that, amazingly, and made that journey from Hawaii to Tahiti, recreated that whole journey that our ancestors made back in the day. And for them, it was like jumping in your car and traveling down the highway.
Exactly.
For them, it's
well, it's in that sense that for our people too, it's that the ocean never separated us. The ocean always joined us to other islands. So the ocean, it was just like hopping in your car, driving on the road. Hop on your canoe and go to Tahiti or go to New Zealand or to the Marquesas. Yes.
Or California.
Or California.
If you folks want to.
Or South America or Japan or Germany. The ocean connects everybody. So.
The ocean connects everyone, and it connects us to our friends in Hamburg, It connects us to our friends in Australia, all
Canada.
over Canada. Canada! So the Hōkūleʻa is an important part of our history now because it has brought back this voyaging tradition. And it continues today with many, many more canoes that are coming out. The Makaliʻi is one of them. So tell us what's going on with the Makaliʻi and what is the Makaliʻi?
Well, the Makaliʻi, again, because Hōkūleʻa, at that time when Hōkūleʻa was built almost 40 years ago, it was the only voyaging canoe that was throughout the whole Pacific, because the traditions had stopped for a while. So all we had were our stories. And so especially home here, because Hōkūleʻa was the only voyaging canoe that we had, and it was based on the island of Oahu. A lot of us that came from Mokuokeawe, from our island here, and had sailed aboard Hōkūleʻa, we wanted to build a canoe so that our community home here could also be a part of the voyages that Hōkūleʻa did. So we built Makaliʻi. Really, it's kind of interesting because all of our canoes started in the upland, start up in the forest, up in our mountains, up in the Kuahiwi. So it's like Makaliʻi. So our canoe Makaliʻi was built actually in Waimea, in Kamuela, and it took us 9 months to construct her. And then we brought her down to the ocean in Kauai, which is now her home port. And we just celebrated Makaliʻi's 20th anniversary also. So it's really in that sense that passing on the lessons that we had learned from Hōkūleʻa, using our canoe here, that's here for our moku, for our island here, for our communities. It's just continue on the work that we had originally started with Hōkūleʻa. Also directly right here for our community.
And can people go and see the Makaliʻi
yes.
right now?
Yes,
Okay.
anytime.
Let them know where.
Yeah, if you come to Kauai High, so it's going to look like you're going to drive into the main harbor where all the containers are. And you're going to come to a security gate. And you just tell them you want to come see Makaliʻi, and they're going to direct you, okay, you go down this road here. And if you follow that path around out towards the ocean, you can't miss Makaliʻi because right now she's up on dry dock. We take her out usually once a year. But especially because we're going to get her ready to head back south again in another couple of years from now. But we're going to get her ready, so she's up on dry dock right now. So if you're ever interested and you're here, you want to come by and see the canoe, you're more than welcome to it anytime. Just come by. Like I said, the canoe was built for our community here on this island. So for us, we come from the understanding that everyone that stands aboard the deck of the canoe is family. And on the canoe, we have this saying that goes, he wa'a, he moku, he wa'a. So wa'a is a canoe for us. So he wa'a, he moku means an island. So the canoe is our island. When we're out on the open ocean, that everything we carry, everyone that's aboard the canoe, we're all family. So when we come home, we say he moku, he wa'a. That this island that we're all a part of, that we're all standing on, sitting on, is our canoe. So if that's true, then we're all family. So then the canoe is part of your family too. So yeah, come on.
And if the canoe is part of your family, you're part of your family, you want to take care of your family. It's the same, that's why it's in dry dock, it's being taken care of right now. Just like Hōkūleʻa's journey is here to take care of the earth as well. It's on its worldwide voyage. Worldwide journey. And that's the Malama Honua.
Malama Honua is the name of the voyage, and Malama means to care for something. Malama, and then Honua means our earth. We're all a part of. So her voyage around the world right now. We're just.
Hōkūleʻa right now.
Hōkūleʻa right now is in Aotearoa, or in New Zealand. She's in Auckland right now. She'll be getting ready to leave from Auckland next month. Hōkūleʻa will probably leave about the ending of April, somewhere around there, from Aotearoa, and she'll continue west next to Australia, Then by the end of this year, we'll be in South Africa. And then eventually, the following year, we'll be heading around across the Atlantic to Brazil and up the eastern seaboard to Miami and New York and all up in that area. And then after we go up there, then we'll cross the Atlantic again into the Mediterranean, to Italy and Greece and all those areas.
And Hōkūleʻa is also doing some scientific things as well, taking note of what's going on with our oceans, checking to see if our oceans are healthy, what we can do to improve the quality of life there in the ocean, because if the oceans don't survive, we don't survive either. So it's very, very important that we malama this, that we take care of this and pay attention, so that we can all live together on our moku, our wa'a.
Our moku, our wa'a. You know, it's like it says, right? If you live, we live. So if our oceans live, we'll live. If our oceans die, we'll die. So it's really in that sense of all of us caring for that place, wherever that might be in the world, but that we're all connected. And that we're all doing whatever it is that we need to care for our place, for our home, and even out here in the big Pacific, or the little dot of the island, out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But this is home for us. So even with Hōkūleʻa traveling around the world on this double hull canoe that carried our ancestors to these places, that we still travel in a sense in the pathway of our ancestors, and we come back home to bring those lessons home, back to our family, back to our communities.
We're gonna ask you to do another song, and then we'll maybe entertain some questions from the audience if you have some questions you'd like to ask. Again, for those of you just joining us, we have a special guest this afternoon. This is our Kanikapila Tuesday, by the way. Every second Tuesday of the month here in Kingsland, we like to bring in someone from our community that can share a little bit of not just aloha and not just music, but a little bit of culture, a little bit of something that says, you are definitely in Hawaii, definitely here, not anyplace else. Another round of applause for Chad Paishon.
This next song I'll play for you is was actually, since we spoke about Makaliʻi, it's a song that was written for Makaliʻi, one of our really good friends. And he wrote this song when he got on the canoe after our first voyage out to the South Pacific. We came home and we returned home to the Big Island, and all of our sailing canoes, there are about 7 voyaging canoes, 5 that sailed up from the South Pacific.
Yeah.
And then we all headed to and our friend got on the island in Molokai. We stopped there and we jumped on board because he wanted to see what it was like. And on the trip from Molokai to Oahu, he wrote this song for Makaliʻi. What's up here? Sail on together, come sail with me. Sail on the beautiful Makaliʻi. Right along Hawaii, made for you and me. Found men and women who sail on to history.
How's everybody doing out there? Woo! I was getting worried. We're in a very sedate crowd here. Well, have yourself, hey, by the way, it's happy hour. Did you guys know that? Happy hour. Yeah. Happy hour is from 4 o'clock, actually to 7 o'clock, you know. The bar is open till 7.
Happy 3 hours. So the requirement is you gotta be happy.
All 3 hours.
All 3 hours.
Difficult, yeah. So hard. I see you've already started over here. Thank you. Very good, very good. So we've got Donna back there behind the bar, and I don't know who else we have back there behind the bar, but they're doing a fabulous job. Oh, there you are. You're hiding, honey. Okay, doing a fabulous job. Don't forget, we also have the bistro open as well, so if you need a little something to go with that drink, we have some Ono grinds on the menu, so take a look at that if you'd like. We have Chad Paishon, if you're just joining us here this afternoon. Yeah? That's your name? Yeah. Okay, right. I got to check. Happy hour. Happy hour. Yes. He's salivating it right now. Happy hour is on. So Chad is one of our co-navigators, captain of the Makaliʻi and the Hōkūleʻa. Chad, you know, we've had Chad here several times before, and he has shared some pretty cool stuff about how, if you're out there, just so happens you're out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and you don't know how to get home. Here's some pointers for you. He's going to share a couple of pointers. Share this with your family and friends. Put it on your website so that nobody gets lost. But you know what? Hey, he has some cool stuff to share about how you don't get lost. How you always stay in touch. So go ahead.
Well, it's basically for us how we've been taught to understand our navigation by our teacher. That we always need to be able to see mentally within us. We need to see the islands all the time, so that we never let the doubt into our minds when we're voyaging, when we're on a canoe, when we're out there on the ocean, we're 1,000 miles out in the middle of nowhere. That we can always see where we're going within our head, and we always remember where we came from. So in that sense, that if you always know where you came from, you're never lost. That you're always able to find your way either to your destination or to go home if you need to. So it's really, in that sense that a lot of times people ask us about our techniques as far as when we voyage on a canoe. We use the stars when we can see them at night. We use the different colors during sunrise and sunset so that we can understand what the weather is doing, so that we can be prepared for either whatever weather we're having or that's coming or that's going.
Colors.
Yeah, colors in the sky tell us a whole lot.
So what? Orange, red. Yeah.
All those different things.
Mean something.
Of course.
Yeah.
They always mean something. A lot of moisture, a lot of heat.
Oh, orange, red means a lot of moisture in the air.
Yeah. So there's a system that's moving through. It's coming or it's leaving. It's transitioning. Yeah. So it's more so not in the sense that danger. It's just more so to keep yourself aware of what's going on around you. And so we use the swells, the ocean swells, to help us navigate when we don't have the stars. So sometimes it's hard for some people to grasp it that we can use the ocean swells that way. But when you spend 3 months on open ocean, and that's what we look at all the time. It's very defined for us.
You notice all those little slight differences.
Yeah, we notice them. So we're able to use the ocean swell either at night or during the day. Use the sun, use the moon, use basically everything that's in the environment that surrounds you is what we use to navigate the canoes. So that's down to the birds that fly by, the fish that are in the sea.
Tell us a little bit about the fish.
Yeah. Like for us, we know that when we see, because we're catching fish to feed everyone aboard the canoe, and when we start to notice the change or the shape of the fish, we know where we're farther out to open ocean or when we're starting to get close to islands, because the shape of the fish start to change.
So when you get close to the islands or to some land mass, the shapes of fish change.
Yeah, they get shorter and they get bigger. Yeah, it's just kind of like people too, right? People when they're on land, they get
shorter and fatter.
Right? But when they're
really
far,
close to land.
it's all about the beast. Yeah, it's all about the beast. But when they get when we're farther out in the ocean, they're a lot longer and leaner. They're not as big.
Because they gotta get to the land.
Yeah, because they're traveling far. Yeah. So it's one of the things that it's one of those simple things
that you notice.
That we notice. Yeah.
Good thing.
Yeah. And so we use different birds that are land birds and some that are ocean birds that sleep out on the ocean, and then we have those other birds that fly back to land.
So you know that when you're getting close to land, you see certain birds.
We see different birds, so we know we're getting within the radius of an island. So it's like zeroing in the island. Then the ocean swells start to change.
And so the ocean swells, what? They get shorter and fatter too.
They get shorter and taller.
Oh, shorter and taller when you start hitting land.
Yeah.
And out in the ocean, they're open and
they're longer.
They're longer and
not
flatter.
as steep.
Not that I will ever be going up there. Okay, I like hearing the stories. I love hearing the music. I love seeing it on Hōkūleʻa.com.
Everyone should come at least once.
Okay, for a short ride.
Yeah.
Just go up a little bit so I can see the land and come back.
Oh, you guys are welcome to take my surfboard. Go for it.
Yeah.
Or not. But yeah, I mean, I would like to go one of these days. But yeah, not too far.
Perfect. Yeah, not too far, not too short. It's just like from Oahu to Kauai. It's a nice trip, right? Because you get out of sight of either island.
I can do that.
So you kind of like, you know the island right there. Yeah. So you'll be there soon. Yeah.
All right, very good. We're going to let you, how about we open it up for maybe one or two questions? Okay. Now the floor is yours, folks. Does anybody have any questions for Chad right now?
Everyone's happy.
Oh, we have a question. Wolf Eater.
Yeah, a lot of times when we have weather like this, when we're on the canoe, basically we're trying to just hold our course as much as we can, where we estimate where we think we are. And sometimes if the ocean swells get really crazy because the weather is changing so much within the time, then we'll try and keep our best estimate of where we think we are until we do get a clear sign from a star or from the sun, and then we'll reorientate the canoe. But we need to remember what we've been doing the last, if it was 2 days or 3 days or whatever it was that we were in the storm, so that we can, if we need to make adjustments, then we do. Yeah, so basically, we're training a bunch of new young navigators now, and because we don't have any instruments, you become the instrument. So basically, you don't sleep a lot. You have to discipline yourself to stay awake because you have to remember everything. So we sleep maybe 2 hours a day. Yeah. But I mean, to me, it's not a big thing because it's to me, I equate it to like people who run the Ironman triathlon. You run a marathon, you bike 112 miles, you swim 2 miles. For some of us, we roll. So for me, sleeping 2 hours a day isn't a big thing. Because I've trained for it. I'm accustomed to it. So we take maybe 5-minute cat naps here and there. And we've come to the point now that even sometimes sleeping for 1 minute is enough.
Wow.
Because for us, I think a doctor did a study on us one time, and he said we go into this very deep sleep when we do sleep. And the first time I did it, I felt like I slept 8 hours. And because I felt like I slept 8 hours, I was really, I wasn't happy when I woke up. Because I felt I missed 8 hours of understanding where I needed to be. So everyone on my crew heard a lot of really not happy things coming out of my mouth because I told them to wake me up in 5 minutes. And by the time I stopped spewing all these things out of my mouth, one of my crew members looked at me and said, "You've been sleeping a minute." But for me, it felt like I slept 8 hours. So, yeah, this doctor who did studies on us years ago when we first started to redo these things, he said, yeah, we have this ability to go into this really deep sleep within that time, and then we wake up totally fine. So, yeah, so you become the instrument that needs to remember everything that goes on. So for a voyage that's maybe a month long, you can kind of estimate how much we sleep within a month. But it's fine. We're able to function in that sense.
Does that answer your question?
I hope I didn't do too much.
That was good. Now, you've never shared that with us before. That's really interesting that you go into a deep sleep for 1 minute. I want to learn how to do that. I would get so much more done. Yeah, yeah? Crazy.
That would be impossible. But yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's not good though when you come home.
Oh.
Because you drive your family crazy.
Oh.
Because you're always up all the time. And everyone's saying that, you know. Yeah, turn off that light. My wife is like, she tries to make sure that I go to sleep. Because if not, I'm always getting her out. Okay, this.
Let's go.
Yeah, so.
I am totally there. Totally there. Okay, any other questions from our audience? Yes?
Yes. Yes.
What else do you bring curriculum? What are the provisions are taken?
Thanks for that question, because when we first started doing the voyages, the main reason for us going was to learn our tradition of voyaging again. But over these years that we've been voyaging now, we've actually turned the voyages into other learning opportunities for us in the sense of exactly what you're asking. So in the beginning, when we first started to sail, we provisioned our canoes from our stores. Home here. Yeah. So number one thing on the canoe for us at one point is Spam. I don't know how many of you know what Spam is.
So popular here in the islands.
Yeah.
Did you know
So in Hawaii, Spam is like, number one on any restaurant list if you go someplace. There's Spam. So it ain't the best thing for you to eat, but a lot of our families grew up eating it. So a lot of the crew members have become accustomed to eating Spam. So that's what gets taken. Within the last, let's say maybe 6-7 years, and especially with this voyages and the voyages going ahead, we're actually looking at what we call aipono, or those healthy things, like what our ancestors ate.
Let's break that down.
Yeah.
Ai.
Yeah. And pono. Yeah. Pono means, basically, if you want to say it's a good thing, it's a healthy thing. Right?
That which is right. Eating what is right for you.
For you. So,
the pizza right there is not good.
Yeah, that's not good. That's all right. We'll take it home for you.
Well, it's right now.
You paid for it to the man.
Yeah, so now provisioning the canoe now is like Makaliʻi is going to look to sail in a couple of years, and our whole push now is to provision the canoe from our island here. So what we did was partner with a lot of our schools and the school gardens that are happening in our schools, so the school children will provision our canoe from their gardens. And there's nothing better than to eat something that was grown in your home, that comes out of your place, especially then when it's grown by your family who's feeding you. Still, when you're thousands of miles away, when you open up these provisions, that it's home. So yeah, thank you for the question, because now that's becoming more of something again that we begin to practice again along with our voyaging tradition. And it's that side of us being, even for the next ones that will come after us, that we can continue. And our wish is that the next ones will be better than us. That hopefully we leave something for them to be proud of and to continue to strive for. Thank you.
Great question. One more question?
As far as weather goes, yeah, I mean, we try and leave when the weather's the best, but as we all know, the weather will change, and so probably the most current one on this voyage that we're on now with Hōkūleʻa, we were leaving Tahiti and headed to the Cook Islands, and we got just on the edge of a small hurricane. So we were in it for a few days. We had 55-mile-an-hour winds that were sustained the whole time, sometimes going up to 75, 85 miles an hour. And we had 10-meter seas. So we had 30-foot seas that were in for about 2.5, 3 days. So it's we know that the canoes are built well. And they're strong. For me, as the captain and navigator, it's mostly, I worry about my crew. Because I know the canoe will be fine. But it's making sure that all the crew members, especially the new ones, that's their first time. Aboard the canoe at that time, there were 16 of us. Aboard the canoe, we had 3 young ones that had just come onto the canoe.
Young is how old?
They're 18, 17, 18. Yeah. But it's in that sense that a lot of the older crew members are experienced. They've been through things and know what to do. But I see young ones that are trying to take care of them. So that they'll learn also. That they get that experience. And yeah, so we're never worried about the canoe because we know how strong the canoes are and how well they can handle those type of seas, those type of conditions. But it's mostly worrying about one another. And we're hoping that we're okay.
For those of you just joining us, aloha and welcome. We have Chad Paishon here from Nakala'iwa'a and Hōkūleʻa. Chad is telling us a little bit about the experiences that he has had with the canoes out in the open ocean. We're going to turn it back over to him after a couple of little questions. We have 5 poor navigators. How many new navigators are you training now?
Right now we're training there's 12 that we're training.
12. Okay. Now on the trip, our first trip to Tahiti on Hōkūleʻa, how many days did it take to get from Hawaii to Tahiti?
32.
32. And then on this last trip with the new navigators, how many days did it take?
15.
15. Less than half.
Right.
Wow, you guys got all efficient, huh?
Well, you know, it was really, in that sense, it was really fortunate, like I said, because the weather really worked out in the favor of that first leg of the trip. That they were able, there's this area in the middle, towards the equator, that everyone who sails, everyone knows it's called the doldrums.
And it has a fancy name too, yeah?
Yeah, the Intertropical Convergence Zone. But, you know, so for those of you who sail, you know that sometimes you go through the doldrums, sometimes there's no wind in that area, and sometimes the doldrums aren't existing, so you can sail right through it. So for this first lake, that crew member that went down, they had awesome weather all the way to Tahiti. So yeah, 15 days.
That's magical.
Magical.
Looking at it, if you go onto the website, www.hōkūleʻa.com, you will see videos from the very beginning, from where they first launched out of Hawaii to where they are today. And they do videos like almost on a weekly basis, right? Pretty much. So there's a lot for you to catch up on if you haven't been there. You need to spend the weekend doing this.
Live vlogging from
the canoe. God bless the internet. Yeah?
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. I love Wi-Fi. Okay, we're going to let you do another song. Okay, right on.
So back in 1976, one of the crew members, his name was George Kalama. Uncle Boogie, they would call me. He wrote this song for the canoe. It goes like this. Raindrops, they have my vision, falling down the cutting incision in my mind, while we sail away our time. Blow the company, shout jubilation, carry us down to our destination. Wiki, on Keala Kahiki. Millions of stars up in the sky, looking up, they all make us high. Hōkūleʻa, you're my star of gladness. Hōkūleʻa, star of gladness. Stand beside me and be my friend. Make me smile and laugh again. Hōkūleʻa, you're my star of gladness. Hōkūleʻa, star of gladness. East wind bound guide Hōkūleʻa. Lord, we ask you please, with this we pray, please show us the way. Hōkūleʻa, star of gladness, you're my happy star. Hōkūleʻa, star of gladness. Stand beside me, be my friend, make me smile and laugh again. Hōkūleʻa, you're my star of gladness. Hōkūleʻa, star of gladness. Hōkūleʻa, star of gladness. You're my happy star. You're my happy star.
Alright, if you're just joining us, chat Paishon right here. We would also like to let everybody know that we are doing a little bit of a test today. You are all guinea pigs today. As part of our test with KanikapilaLive.com, we are actually live streaming this on the web right now. Yeah. There you go. Live streaming this on the web, KanikapilaLive.com, and I will come by and write that up for you as well, along with Hōkūleʻa. So check us out online because we have awesome Hawaiian events and Hawaiian music especially, and some great cultural stuff happening and coming up on KanikapilaLive.com. Don't forget www.Hōkūleʻa.com as well. Would you share anything else?
Yeah, sure. It's just that, like we said in the beginning, when Hōkūleʻa did her first voyage back in 1976, she was the only voyaging canoe, modern voyaging canoe in existence at the time. So if you fast forward now, 40 years later, now throughout the Pacific, we have 18 voyaging canoes. That here in Hawaii, we have 8 voyaging canoes now here in Hawaii, along with Hōkūleʻa and Makaliʻi, Yeah, so we've got 8 voyaging canoes now in Hawaii, and there's another 10 that are in the South Pacific. So voyaging traditions now live and are part of, pretty much, again, a part of our traditions, and it's not just left in the stories anymore, but we're all able to continue to share it.
We're living it.
We're living it.
Wonderful. There are a couple of questions. I don't want to cut you off. You can take your question.
Yep.
Here we go. Michael, did you have a question?
I'm just trying to find out, how do you cook a pizza?
How do you get this pizza out of the box? No. I'm sorry. I will. It's okay. All right. And you had a question now. Are there any sheltered areas on the boat so that in case it's storming, they have some cover to go into? Yes.
Yes, there is. Well, so if you can imagine our canoes, if you see the paddling canoes that you have out here along the shore, so our canoes are just a lot larger in those hulls that you see. But basically all we have is a canopy that goes over the hull, and that's basically your covered area. So it's basically 2 hulls, 2 canoes that are joined together by cross pieces that we call yako, that has a deck in the middle. So the deck is totally open to weather. But we put an awning over the hulls itself, and that's where people can get out of the weather, whatever weather we're having. Whether it's the sun during the day, or if it's raining or anything else, any storms, then that's pretty much your only place to get out of the weather from. But since we're sailing the canoe 24 hours a day, so there's always people that are up on deck that are exposed to weather all the time, and it's just part of it.
Good question. So it's like a catamaran, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like
Very
a
much.
catamaran for those of you that have not seen our canoes before. And we have another couple of questions over here.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
wondering if women sail as well.
Do women sail as well? Yes, very much so. It's really that tradition in that sense that, yeah, the women do need to sail because it's just like for any of us.
Because they need us.
Yeah, we do. My wife and I never sailed together. Well, my
Good idea.
yeah. Happy wife, happy life, right?
Sail separately if
Yeah.
you're going to sail.
Oh, but it's just in the sense that a lot of the women that do sail our canoes, you know, like for our Makaliʻi up here, almost 3/4 of our crew members are all women. For some reason, it's not because of me. And but there's a lot of our women in the society that have found that they need and want to have their place on the canoes and to be a part of the voyaging that we do. So a lot of them, probably half of the young navigators that we're training now are women. And yeah, now the women do everything alongside the men that sail aboard the canoe.
And there are women navigators also, yeah?
There are.
Yeah.
There are. So
And they look good. So.
yeah, they look good doing it too. They look better than us doing it.
Stylishly navigating.
Stylish. Very much so.
Very good. And sir, you had a question. No instrumentation.
Yeah, no instruments at all. Exactly.
Yep.
He has a force.
Yeah.
Unlike anybody else.
You know something? And you said this a little bit earlier when you made a comment earlier, we're answering a question. Visualization. It's one of the keys. You visualize where you're from. You visualize where you're going.
Exactly. It's probably the one question that, because we mentioned there's 5 of us that are in Hawaii now that our teacher graduated into this level called Hula. And although he's passed away, the 5 of us still, we stay in touch with each other all the time. And before we do any voyage, that's usually the first question that we ask each other. Can you see the island? And if the answer is no, then we don't go. You know? Because if we can't see it ourselves, there's nowhere we're going to get there. You know? But if we can see it in here, in other words, if we can understand, like doing this worldwide voyage. In 2007, we were sitting in Japan. We just sailed to Japan. And myself and one of the other co-navigators were sitting on board Hōkūleʻa. And the sun was just about going down, and we were just sitting there talking about how here we are sitting in Japan, of all places, on our voyaging canoe. And who would have ever thought, you know, when we first sailed to Tahiti, people were doubting that if we could even do this, that someday we'd be sitting in Japan aboard our voyaging canoe. And one of our other navigators came by and asked us what we were talking about. And we were telling him that, you know, here we are, sitting in Japan aboard our canoes. You know, who would ever thought that we'd end up here? And then he asked the question, well, then where do we go next? And we said, let's just continue west and go around the world. And we asked ourselves at that time, can we see the island? And we said, yeah.
Wow.
So
That's such a
here we are.
moment.
Yeah. And so here we are now sailing around the world because we can see it.
Can you see Hamburg?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I just wanted to ask, because I can see them loud and clear.
Yeah, me too.
So, honey, I give me myself up. You go.
All right. Yeah. Right on. That is awesome. That's a chicken skin moment. Yes, I can visualize a world voyage. Awesome.
Yeah. And it's in that sense, like you said, that when you can see it, there's no hesitation.
Right.
Yeah,
You
can
follow
see
with it. You follow
Right.
with it, and you feel it in here.
Yeah.
And, oh.
And that's what he does.
Yeah. Yeah, what a blessing. You know, Chad, we have Kaulumahiehie Amaral here. Can you put some of that chicken breast?
I hope so. I hope so.
I'm going to go somewhere in a few minutes and just call reading everyone. But I think it would be lovely. Okay.
And if I can, I have help.
Oh, one more question. Do you paddle the canoe or does it go by sail?
It's only by sail. Because the canoe weighs 12 tons. Yeah. Yeah, it's big. Yeah.
If you want to paddle, you the
Yeah,
paddle.
so no, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Because early on when we first started sailing the canoe, we paddled it at different times. Like if we had to get it out of a port someplace, we paddled it out. And then we set the sails and then we'd sail off. Right. Right. Exactly. So that's why usually we're on 24 hours a day. Destination.
You know, can I say something also? For those people that are going to go up and visit Makaliʻi in the harbor, number one, I know some of you are thinking we're going to get to the harbor gate, and we're going to come up to security, and you know how every other harbor in the U.S. and around the world is totally secure. These are the most friendly security guys you're going to run into because they're going to go like this to you, how's there? Okay, and then you're going to go, they're going to
Yeah.
what you like?
You gotta know this.
You gotta know this one, okay? And then just Makaliʻi, just say Makaliʻi, and then oh, okay, and then they read you the right way.
And then they do this.
Okay, and then you're gonna get down to the Makaliʻi, and you're gonna see her because she's in dry dock right now, and you're gonna say, oh wait, this is fiberglass, okay? Yes, so she's fiberglass. Okay, I just don't want anybody to be shocked that she's, a lot of people expect it to be wood, and it's not. Our original, of course, our original voyaging canoes were made of wood, and it's unfortunate that when you can explain this better than me, but when we first started to come back to this tradition, we didn't have trees big enough to make canoes.
Exactly.
Well, we're starting to grow trees again, but this is all part of the damage that has gone on in our islands, and we are trying to rectify the situation and trying to be sure that we malama our aina so that we can restore this as well, restore these resources. And so we had some wonderful. You tell the story about Alaska.
They can't be paddling.
Yeah, so, when we look back to our forest and we realized that we didn't have the large enough trees to build our voyaging canoes, that we needed to do something. So we started reforestation projects that are still ongoing this year. It's really in that sense that when our ohana across the pond, across the ocean, from Alaska, specifically the Highland Tlingit from Sitka, Alaska herd, of what that we were trying to find our own trees but weren't able to. They contacted us and asked us to come to Sitka and to see if we would consider using one of their trees to build our voyaging canoe, which definitely we humbly accepted, and because we understood that for the Highland Tlingit, that it was a very significant thing for them to give one of their trees.
It's a big tree.
Yeah, it's a big tree.
So just one?
It was one tree that made the two hulls of a canoe.
So there are voyaging canoes that exist that are made of wood.
We have two in Hawaii that are made out of wood. One is the canoe called Hawai'i, which were made from the Sitka tree from Alaska. And the other is called Yosepa, which is on the north shore of Oahu. That is made out of dakau, which is native timber from Fiji. So those two canoes are the only two wooden voyaging canoes that we have in Hawaii. All the other voyaging canoes that we have in Hawaii are made out of a combination of either fiberglass or high density foam, so they're all man-made materials, canoes. But we continue to build those canoes until our forests are ready again for us to go back. And they probably won't be ready in our time, but probably our grandchildren will get to see them again. And that's just fine with us as long as someday that they'll have the resource again. So,
And another question. Have there been boats lost? You mean double voyaging canoes lost at sea?
No, there hasn't been any of the canoes, but there's a pretty significant thing that happened in 1978. That our voyaging canoe Hōkūleʻa, after the 1976 voyage, her first maiden voyage to Tahiti, in 1978 she was going to go back again to Tahiti, and at that time there was a lot of media pressure for the canoe to go, and there was an approaching hurricane coming to Hawaii, and they were saying, no, you can't go because this weather's coming. They said, no, the media's here, you guys gotta go. So they ended up leaving, and in between Moloka'i and Mara'i, they got caught in the weather, really strong winds. They couldn't close the sails, so basically the hull, it heeled over onto one side, and on the port deck, so the starboard hull went down into the water, started filling up with water, and the canoe basically rolled over. And aboard the canoe at the time, there was this young Hawaiian man. He was a really famous lifeguard here in Hawaii. His name was Eddie, I call him. And being a lifeguard on the North Shore and being a crew member, having the canoe upside down, the radio was in the water, under the water. Couldn't call for help, couldn't call for anyone. He basically went to try and get help. To rescue everyone.
On a surfboard or
on his surfboard?
On his surfboard.
Yeah. So he tried to go for help on the surfboard. Some hours later, one of the planes that was flying into our island at that time spotted the canoe. And eventually the crew members all got picked up by the Coast Guard, rescued, got taken back to Oahu. And so everyone had asked where this person was, where was Eddie? Because everyone thought that Eddie was the one who had contacted the Coast Guard. And basically we never found Eddie. Eddie was lost at sea. So we've never lost a vessel, but we have lost one crew member. And that was Eddie in 1978. So ever since that tragic time happened, that now we never let anyone dictate to us when we leave. That brother dictates to us everything that we do, and because we never want to repeat anything or what the family had to go through, and all of us there to continue going after it. So yeah, Eddie gave his life for everyone. In Hawaii here, you see a lot of bumper stickers a lot of times that say Eddie will go. And that's who we're talking about, Eddie. Hope they have any questions.
Thank you so much. That was a very good question. We've never spoken about Eddie Aikau during our Kanikapila, but it's good that we did. And we want to celebrate his life as well. Okay, we have one more question, and then we're going to bring up an extra special treat for everybody. Go ahead.
How do you make money doing this?
How do you make money doing this?
Who pays you?
Who pays for it?
You do.
You do.
Thank you.
Thank you. No. Actually, a lot of our, right now, the worldwide voyage that's going on, a lot of private donors.
Hawaiian Airlines.
Hawaiian Airlines is a huge, it's flying all the crew members back and forth between the different stops that Hawaiian Air does. So they're great. They're probably the biggest sponsor of the worldwide voyage right now.
You too can become a sponsor.
Me too.
This is not a commercial, but it is.
You too can become a sponsor. And it doesn't matter how much it is.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Whatever you can donate to the voyage is definitely really appreciated. So, it's the same thing. A lot of people ask us, so what do you do for a job? This is our job. We continue this portion of our tradition in the sense that we need to continue to sail in order to keep it alive. So that's what we do. Thanks for your question.
That's a very good question. Because it would be great if we could, make money, but sometimes there are things, and I know that you know this, there are some things that are more important than money, and this is one of them. And we want to thank Chad for devoting, and his family for devoting their life to making sure this tradition lives, lasts, and making sure that we can share these kinds of wonderful traditions with you. We're trying to make Kanikapila tradition here at the Kingsland. Thank you very much. I'll look to all of you. And I would like to take this time to impose upon a very, very special lady who has arrived to join us this afternoon. She is Hawaii's premier Hula soloist, having been all over the world to dance before kings, queens, and just regular people like us. We want to introduce the very, very beautifully talented and gorgeous Kaulumahiehie Amaral.
They say that the moon will shine down upon you when you say you don't want me. I love you too. But the stars tonight when I hold you tight. So I can treasure each moment that we share. But tonight belongs to you and I. When you say you're running with, I love you. As the trade winds gently blows your hair, so I can treasure each moment that we share. But tonight belongs to you and I. love you too. When you say you're Hawaiian, I love you too.
She doesn't always get to dance to Paishon. I heard somebody say hanaho. Hanaho means one more time. That's what you know. We would love to have you dance. Oh, this request, by the way, comes straight from the mayor's office. Tita, can you come? I would like to introduce everyone to another very special guest that we have here at the Kingsland this afternoon. Come on up. We are so happy to have as our County Research and Development Chairperson, Kawehi Inawa. Have a round of applause. Kawehi was started Hōkūleʻa Airlines back in the day, and then she decided, oh, I'm gonna sell them. And now, Hawaii's Businesswoman of the Year, and she's won many other awards as well. Yes, she is Hawaiian. Mahalo. And more than anything, Lula's dear friend and mine as well. And she's here today to join us along with our German Ohana. We want to recognize our German Ohana, Michael Baton and Elise from Germany. Michael is an official from the city of Hamburg, which is why I'm bringing up Hamburg. Hello. And Michael is going to be working with us together to hopefully make something happen along with Wolf Dieter. We have Wolf Dieter and Ushi, Ursula, Klausa, who are our Ohana. They've brought us to Germany now twice and are here every year, and we love them dearly, along with the big dance. Yes, I know. It seems like it's been so many voyages, yeah? I feel like I'm on the Hōkūleʻa myself. You know? That's the ultimate. Elise and Michael have a very dear, special visitor here who's with them this year also. And how about waving for us?
That's Miss Germany.
Miss Germany. Miss California. Thank you everybody for being here. We see old friends and family sitting here. Many of you visitors have come back to Kingsland many times over, and we thank you for always making sure you put on those comment cards now how much you enjoyed this performance. Okay? Yes. So that we can keep on doing this for all of our guests, because every year, every month, when we put this on, it touches somebody's heart. It touches somebody right here, and you have that special place in your heart for Hawai'i. And we need that. We need that. So, with that, let's do another Hula number.
That's Brick House. All right.
Another traditional Hawaiian number for you this evening, and as we have a couple of more, dance another number for us. You know, folks, we'd like for this to go on and on and on, but we got to wrap up over here because the crew needs to clean it up and go home. But we thank each and every one of you for being with us again. Another number for Kaulu, and maybe a couple of questions. Yeah, let's throw those shaka signs. There you go. And we'll do a couple of announcements. Don't forget, nakaliva.org. They're another organization here that takes care of Chad and the Makaliʻi right here on the Big Island. www.Hōkūleʻa.com. Oh, you know what's this? I go around and I spell them for everybody. I write them out. Yeah. I should have a big board over here. That's what I'm going to do next time. And also KanikapilaLive.com. Don't forget, go us. You know, mahalo anyway. Here we go. Mr. Warren and Tani Kaneao over here, our very, very patient and very talented cameraman and internet guy extraordinaire, Ka'ibi Stevens. He's single, ladies, he's single. And
he has a surfboard.
And he has a surfboard.
Couple surfboard.
And from all of us to all of you, a very fond and dear. Aloha.